Hi, Papa Yeager here with This Day in History. February 18th, 1885. Mark Twain published The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, which is probably his most well-known and most controversial book. It has been talked about a great deal in recent history, predominantly because of the use of the N-word throughout the book. But beyond the N-word, it is an amazing read. Huck Finn was first introduced to audiences as Tom Sawyer's best friend in The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. Tom Sawyer was a lighter read. It was about boys and mischief and life in the 1800s along the Mississippi River. It was a really fun, enjoyable read. Huck Finn, however, is more serious. It does tackle the institution of slavery. And Mark Twain's satirical take on slavery really gives the reader an idea of what the culture was like back during the ages of slavery. Jim is the runaway slave. He runs away with Huck Finn, and he's smart and caring. Whereas many of the white people in Mark Twain's stories are really not very bright. And it's not just slavery that he tackles. It's also the institution of religion that he kind of pokes fun at. And how people just adhere to things without really thinking about them and understanding what they're doing. It's a very touching story between the relationship between Huck Finn and Jim. It is worth the read. When my son was I think he was in 3rd grade, he wanted to read the book. And he attempted to start reading it on his own. But it's a very difficult read because it's written in the language of the time. And Mark Twain's really good about writing in the dialogue. But that makes it more challenging for us today. So my son started it and was having difficulty. So we ended up reading it together at night before bed. We'd read a couple of chapters a day, and he enjoyed it. 2 years ago, we were driving out to the Midwest together, and one of our first stops was in Hannibal, Missouri, because I wanted to take him to the town in which Mark Twain grew up, the town in which, the Mark Twain started to conceive of his characters living in that area, that time period. Unfortunately, my son was more interested in the sword store that we encountered in Hannibal, and he wants to go back this summer when we drive west, not because of Mark Twain, but because of the swords. But still, he got the history. He's read both he's read both Huck Finn and Tom Sawyer. So he knows his literature. Anyway, that's This Day in History, February 18th, 1885. Mark Twain published The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn.